Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about Intel Arc B580. So let's dive deep into it. Now, this puppy is Intel's attempt to become the third player in the GPU market. So there are two major players in the GPU market. One is the NVIDIA Daddy and another is AMD Small. So these are the two main players. And this thing, Battlemage, is the second generation architecture. It's not just a polish of the last one. It's a fully new architecture. Basically, same way we went from GTX to RTX, that kind of deal. So again, it may not be that big externally. It is that big internally. Intel is like not shutting up about it. It's like how much they changed fundamentally. Again, I do expect that to happen simply because Mark 1 product is always garbage. No matter who you are, no matter what you are, Mark 1 equal garbage. So this time, this is their Mark 2. Now, they have released two cards so far, and be mindful, they are not ready yet, as in like you cannot just go and buy both of them. Only one is available in the market, which is 580. And they have also released 570, which will come in January, mid-January, so to say. So one is 12 gigabyte capacity, another is 10 gigabyte capacity. Now, launch prices of these puppies is very weird according to Intel, because one of them is $250, another is $220. $30 difference for freaking 2 gigabytes of VRAM. It does not even make sense. Like, why? Like, why? If this was much cheaper, it would have made sense. It's just not. So like that 10 GB variant does not make sense. And it's not even a low profile card. It would have made sense if it was a, hey, it's a low profile, low power card. It would have made sense. It's not. So, but whatever it is, we are here to talk about 5070. Now, why it is such a big deal, why everybody is talking about it, simply because it's too low for a brand new launch in 2024. If it was NVIDIA was like $5,000. Oh yeah. If it was Radeon, it would be like, okay, NVIDIA is charging 5,000, we're gonna charge you 4,900. So Intel is just like, no, we will give you very low prices. It's like, what the hell, on a brand new card? So that is like, dang. Now again, what about the performance? Because here's the deal. Arc Generation 1, again, Mark 1 system, the drivers were not ready. So if you had bought it at the launch day, it would have been a painful few months. Now, it has to be commended that Intel's team really moved mountains. They polished the driver like so goddamn quickly. Like in this 1 year, the cards went from barely running to like, it's a good card. And more than enough people at the end of it was using it in small form factors, because they were the only other option that was like, small form factor, brand new systems, and more than enough codec support. Intel is doing very well in terms of codec support. How many codecs they support is genuinely good on a silicon hardware level. So that was like very useful for a lot of application. So AMD and NVIDIA no longer focuses on basically $300 or 25,000 rupees card. Now be mindful, in India we rarely get any card at that price, taxes and all that. But reality is flat out, both of these companies are like, we really do not want to bother with that. It's just like, nope, no. And flat out, Intel realized there is a blank space. While we have technology of 4K 120 Hertz, not everybody has that, and majority of gaming systems are still at like 1080p and 1440p. You do not need, everybody does not need like a computer system that is capable of running 4K 120. It's just like, what if you can do proper Full HD, high refresh rate, modern titles, not like e-sports title, which generally run a very high FPS anyway. The modern high fidelity systems. So there is a blank spot, and in this blank spot, Intel fired a shot. And flat out, when I'm making this video, at the moment, 5000 series has not been launched. NVIDIA's, AMD's next generation is also not launched. So at this point in time, given new launch prices, meaning it's launched at this price, you can buy at that price, what is available, like this is available at that sort of price, would Intel beat that? Yes, flat out. It's, and again, it's not that NVIDIA cannot make a good card, they just are not interested, flat out not interested. And I genuinely have said it multiple times in my video that AMD's pricing is really stupid. It's just like, oh, and NVIDIA is charging this much, now we're gonna charge little bit less. It's like, bruh, you are not at the same level, you have to charge here. And again, the market share shows, I'll show that in the later point. So flat out, Intel is like, no, we are reaching here performance wise, like this is NVIDIA, we are reaching here, we are costing you this much. People are like, whoa, be mindful, price matters a lot. So if like, hey, how about buying a very cheap computer with a modern graphics card? Now it's like, why do you have to buy modern one? You can buy 3000 series. Here's one of the fundamental mistake people do is that when you buy it, the warranty starts from that date, but software update starts from the launch date. Meaning, if you buy right now, let's say 3000 series card, you're not gonna get same update because, oh yeah, I bought it in 2025, let's just say. Yeah, you're not gonna get 5 years from now. You are gonna get 5 years minus 2 years. Why? Because it was launched 2 years ago. So it always is from the launch date, the software update. So that's why people who want to have their computer for long term, they always want to buy something that is very recent, as recent as possible. So if I buy AM5 right now, if I buy DDR5 right now, if I buy 40 series card right now, I will get a very long support life. If I buy like 3000, or let's say 3000 was like, well, let's say okay kind of system, again, I'm not going to get support. Same goes with AMD. So for support reason, it's always wiser to invest in a brand new system, especially if you want to run your system for long. That 1 or 2 years of extra support matters a lot. So that's why people still want to be like, hey, rather than buying this crappy card which has very little VRAM, why not I buy 3000 series? Again, and again, other aspect would be this has a AV1 codecs for encoding, not only for decoding. 3000 only has for decoding, not encoding. So, and again, Intel, they really figured out AV1 very early on. So they're like, we sorted, bro, we good. So that's why it is such a wow change, where it's like, whoa, you're telling me that brand new card with a brand new codec supports. Again, it may be important to you, may not be important to you, but again, from now to like, let's say 4 years of software support, I can buy this for this kind of price and it will beat this. How? Again, because of the pricing. It is amazing. And given the fact that Nvidia is literally like Apple, where they are flat out pissing on the customer's face, where it's like, no, 8 GB VRAM is enough. It's like, I worked in a game studio. Trust me when I say this. The sole reason why 8 GB is no longer enough, because console crossed it, and we always design game for the console, which is supposed to be the lowest denominator. You're making something lower than that, it's painful to develop for. That's why like when game studios port it, the VRAM overflows. Again, it's you can polish it, you can do it, but why would any game studio pay that much money? If they already paid the money to develop it for consoles, they already made their money back. Do you really think they're gonna sit down and polish it? And again, that's why GTA is flat out saying, is like, PC players do not get it. So at least give us buffer room, na? At least give us, like the old days was, hey, you barely get any horsepower in console, you unlock everything in PC. That was the old days. Now it's like, no, 8 GB VRAM is enough. It's like, no, the moment I decompress the texture, poof, done, gone. 8 GB is just not enough. And again, there are new games that are flat out saying, bro, if you give her less than 12 GB, we will not launch. We will flat out not. And that's another aspect. So if you buy this and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna play modern East titles, cool, awesome. Then you're like, okay, seeing titles, let's say next God of War or something that is more scenic. Yeah, the VRAM would be like, nah, bro, nah. The game will be like, nah, bro. Then what will you do? So having 12 GB of VRAM in current gen, in this sort of price, damn. This is like flat out there, like flat out. There is nothing. I can show you hundreds of graphs, and there are more than enough YouTubers talking about that, but that's not the interesting part to me. It's the clever part that is the interesting part. And all the third-party vendors, they are also trying to release tamer cards. They are not like ultra overclocked, no, Hululu clock, the 10,000 kilogram cards. No, everything is very tame. Everything is like, let's make sure it gets into people's hand with as minimal cost as possible. So it's a very good thing. Meaning right now, if you buy this, as in like, let's say January of 2025, you're going to have a good 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. You can almost touch 2028 with good support. So that's a big thing. And in video codecs, it's like, it's not even a competition. It's good. It's good. So performance is there. Flat out. For this price range, do not compare it to like, oh, a 4090. For this price range, at launch price, nothing. Like, nope, just nope. Maybe 1 or 2 games, just like, nope. No. And the VRAM overflow, if that's a real issue to you, yeah, that's at that point, it's like, it's not even a competition. Like, yeah, my game will not launch in this. What's the point? So what about the pricing is such a big deal? Here's it's never about the product. It's always about the price. I can give you a graphics card like this, RTX 4090. BFG, 2,30,000. It's like, is that a good card? Hell no. This is my whole computer. That's the price of my whole computer, and it's still a graphics card. You're like, oh, it has 24. It's still a graphics card. It will still age. The components will age. Literally, the capacitors age. The resistors drift. It will, like, over time, it will become a crappy card, and software support will stop exactly from launch date. So it will become useless, paperweight after a point. So spending that kind of money, it's not useful. And again, if you are running an AI data center, your equation is completely different. Here, it's completely different. You're not making money out of it. Unless you are in those scenarios, go YOLO on it. But this is not economically viable anymore. Again, people will buy it to show it off. If you watch YouTuber, like everybody has 1490s. But again, majority of people, yeah, they look at 1490 prices like, no. Heck, even when I bought, like, really pushed hard, again, I really wanted 16 gigabyte of VRAM because, again, I know textures are huge, but unfortunately I could not afford it. I was like, even I spent a lot of money. I only got 4070 Ti. Damn. But it is what it is. The price to performance ratio is just useless. Like, okay, like I do this and all that. Again, if you make money out of it, it's cool. But for graphics card kind of thing, not really not that useful. And NVIDIA is no longer interested, flat out. Again, it's not why the heck price is climbing, because again, they are not interested. This is their real world. Their real world says, do not waste silicon. Basically, the actual silicon ingot, do not waste it on GPUs. They do not want to, because here's the deal. GPU, let's say, cost them $1,000 to make. They sell it for $2,000. It's 1x profit or 2x, let's just say. Not that amazing. They take the same system, now develop a workstation or AI grade GPUs. That time it costs, let's say, $10,000. They sell it for $50,000 at that point, because there is no competition, and every time they are selling it, they are not selling one piece, two piece, they are selling 50,000 pieces. It's a very large X number. And that's why NVIDIA is flat out not interested in making silicon for these sort of things. It shows that's why the price creep is going up so quickly. They're flat out do not care. If the whole GPU lineup goes away, they won't even notice it. They're like, oh, this small unit went up, poof, and all the silicon that we were spending in that is free for this money printing machine. They will do it. So flat out. It's not that NVIDIA is doing something evil. It's the economic forces acting on them is like, yeah, let this price go up. Because again, from a ethical point of view also, they can say, hey, the company's first job is to make profit for its shareholders. Okay, how can you do that? Do not make these things. Because again, if the silicon, like the amount of silicon they are spending on this, they can get much higher X value if they were making data center IC. The AI hype has skewed it way too quickly. As you can see, this is from 2022. 2021, barely some percentage was used. Now 2024 last quarter, it's like almost majority of it. So it's a massive change. They no longer care. So be damn sure that 5000 series prices would be like, are you kidding me? And again, there is a point where the price just crosses a territory of stupid. It's like, yeah, it's not worth it. Like you can justify it, but it's not worth it. So flat. And AMD's pricing strategy is just raw stupid. I have no idea. And again, I've been using AMD since it was ATI. It has never had good pricing strategy. It always like, oh, NVIDIA is charging you this much. We're going to charge just a little. It's like, bro, your performance is here without RTX. With RTX, it's even lower. So flat out. Like, no. And again, they do not have CUDA. Why they do not have CUDA equivalent? Simply because they are not selling enough. Why they are not selling enough? They are not cheap. And if you keep the price like this, where it's like NVIDIA price here, you know how much incentive people have? It's like, hey, why not just put a $100 or $200 more and get NVIDIA? Ta-da! And that has been happening for last 5 years. I'll show you another interesting graph that explains that. So AMD is just a little bit cheaper, which is flat out not good, because again, their performance delta is not big enough. If they were like, oh, almost neck and neck, that would have made sense. It's not. So that's it. And Intel learned they have to grab market share. Market share matters. And it's kind of smart that they made sure the Mark 1 gets all the bad publicity, not the Mark 2. Because again, if Mark 1 was like, launch price competitive, but everybody bought it and everybody suffered bad experience from it, it may have left bad taste in people's mouth. So it may be a very clever strategy where it's like, let's just, there will always be like, people who try bleeding edge technology. Let them, iron out the kinks. Then we make Mark 2, which will be far more improved, because again, it's a Mark 2, and then we make it price competitive. Then it's like, damn, smart. So pricing is very clever, flat out clever. And that's why, let that be very clear. Do not expect 5000 series to be very cheap. Again, if Intel, NVIDIA can do it, but likelihood they will do that is very low, because they have a board of directors and they have stocks. So I'm pretty sure a missiles would be fired if he tried to do that. So yeah, no. What about long term? Now, this is where things get interesting. At this point in time, NVIDIA is riding the AI hype. NVIDIA is just like, let me print some money, lot of money, $2 trillion kind of money. So a lot of money. And again, their own point of view is like, why we are wasting with GPUs? Like, that's not acceptable for them in long term. So again, do not be shocked if 5000 series price is just like ludicrous. They will not care. So that's there. AMD is really not that good to be just a bit cheaper, and this shows in this graph. This is the market share graph over the years. So let's start in 2012. At that point in time, 62% Nvidia, 37% in terms of AMD. Not bad. But here's you will notice that it's slowly going down. In 2024, they only have 12%. And again, at this point in time, calling them duopoly is also a lol. And why did that happen? Because the price was so close. If their 7000 series was like, actually cheaper, whereas like, Nvidia is cool and all, but I have to spend so much more money to get it, rather than I can just add $100 more, or like small percentage wise, a very small percentage just to jump to Nvidia. People will jump to Nvidia. It has been happening constantly from 2016-17, you can say 2017, 29%, 28%, 28%, 23%, 21%, 16%, 17.17%. A little bit of, I think, crypto hype happened in 2022, and then back to 12%. This is not acceptable. Like, this trend line is not acceptable where you keep losing market share. They have to cut their prices, and Intel paid attention to it. It's like, we are suffering very brutally in our CPU department. That part has messed up. And again, you can see their data center shares are shrinking now. It is not good. So they need something that needs to be a good win, long-term win, basically how they used to be. So GPU business is a seed business right now. Let that be very clear. Same logic applies to Intel Silicon, same as Nvidia Silicon. They would also make more money if they were making compute card rather than graphics card. But here's the deal. How would you make a quality compute card unless you know how to make a good graphics card? That's why Nvidia made the successful jump. Others did not. Intel needs to get a good graphics division going, needs to get parallelization done, needs to have something equivalent of CUDA. All of that sorted. That can be sorted far more cheaply, far more expediently in GPU division. And then they're like, hey, we also have an offering for our computer division, basically trying to make this line go up again. So iron is very hot. And again, the likelihood of Intel shutting down this is very low. Again, yeah, the line is very bad, but if Intel has any sort of intelligence long term, they will never shut it down, because again, this is a seed, they are planting it, and the early reviews are it can sprout this year, as in year 2025. This could slowly sprout, and if AMD does not cut cost significantly, they're good. They can slowly chip away at it, slowly move units, and again, as sales happens, volumes and the drivers improve a lot, they could slowly have a randomly one day you'll wake up and you're like, hey, 10% is Intel. That would be magnificent. And then they will have enough driver experience, enough compute experience. They're like, hey, we can also make compute card. And people do not like monopoly. Nobody likes monopoly. Like, hey, let us try with Intel. So this is a very critical moment for Intel and for the whole industry. Nobody likes this line where it's like one daddy is like, I rule them all. Nobody likes it. And again, I genuinely hate this pricing strategy of AMD. They are losing market share and they will keep losing it if they're just a little bit. No. Cut the price. People have to be bleeding in order to get, Nvidia. You cannot be like, oh, you can just get Nvidia. It's just like, it should be like, nah, it's not worth it. That 2 lakh rupees is just not worth it, man. Like, too much. So this is a very great news for us, because here's the deal. If you want lower prices, you want market competition. Duopoly is not good enough. You need good competition in market. And GPUs are not essential. So do not expect government to come down to be like, hey, we're going to regulate the prices and all that. Nvidia cannot just like randomly charge $5,000 for card. No, that will not happen. It's not essential. You can survive without this. I do have the luxury of, the privilege of actually having a competent computer. But again, would I survive without it? I did. My old computer was GTX 1070. Yeah, I survived on that for 10 years. More than good enough. Now again, AMD FX Bulldozer was my processor that I used for 10 years. So you get the point. You can survive without it. So it's not essential. So no price, price gouging rules apply and all that. So it's like, it's a opulent product. It's like, you want to show it off, go YOLO. So do not expect that sort of price help. So we need competition. Without competition, price will become yellow. And again, if people are willing to pay for ludicrous amount for Nvidia, AMD will be like, oh, we are just a bit cheaper. So, and again, happening. So we need competition. Another aspect is gaming is a massive industry, and it's massive industry in 2 terms, not only in terms of money it makes, but in terms of technology it develops. Half of the VFX technology using, majority of them have roots in gaming sort of ecosystem, 3D to advanced projections and all that. And yes, we do hear about like, how Lord of the Rings developed this technology for VFX and, Pirates of the Caribbean. But again, other ways also happens. For example, Mandalorian, Unreal, game engine. So the money that we are talking about when you're talking about like, gaming sector is huge, as in it's not millions of dollars, it's billions of dollars, like bonkersly large amount of billions of dollars. And again, it was always huge. Even arcade industry was huge. If you the reason inflation has made this number walk, so if you apply modern numbers to that, arcade was like, in the early days of 1980s, it was like a multi-billion dollar enterprise. So right now we are reaching a point where $85 billion is in the mobile industry, $40 billion in PC, and console has 33 billion. And if everybody shifts to mobile, problem would be technology will no longer be developed. We will no longer have, like, again, mobile games are fundamentally limited by the screen real estate and how you interact with it. Console games and PC games, they are a different kind of breed. They're like, you sit down for it. So that allows artists to like, hey, we're gonna give you in a story. So fundamentally, you want this environment to be healthy. That allows more technology to be developed. And again, a lot of people were employed. I was also employed. I worked in few games you may have heard of, like Spider-Man, Halo, Payday 2 DLC, and one was another flop game. Overwatch, yeah. Overkill, Walking Dead, that was a very bad flop game, something like that. So one other game I forgot. Outsourcing studio, we generally used to work for a lot of them. So there's a lot of people who are employed because of this industry. So if graphics card price keeps going stupid, people will stop it. And again, artists are screaming. I was a texture artist, like I hated the fact that I had to scale down everything to 1K to fit into the VRAM limits. It's like, bro, give me 4K texture wise. I'm not talking like the 4K display, 4K texture. So flat out, PC needs to be cheap enough for this industry to thrive. Like, this is a big sector. $40 billion is not like lol. It's a big chunk of money. You want that to be healthy. And I'm very happy that Steam handheld is actually doing good. Like, again, it's not that significant yet, but the seed has been planted. So that's a good thing. You want competition. That's a good thing. And flat out, another aspect is AI players. So let's say all other players, let's say Amazon, let's say Microsoft, Meta, whatever have you. None of them like the idea that there is this one daddy and the end. Nobody likes this. Nobody. If you are smart, you'd never want that, because here's the deal. Assume there is a limitation of the inherent architecture. The silicon architecture is the same limitation in everyone. It's like, that's not a good thing. You never want that. You fundamentally want things to be as versatile, as distributed as possible. This is not possible if everybody is using CUDA. Now, CUDA was very good very early on, but now it's reaching a time where it's like, hey, if 90% of the codes are only written for CUDA, it's a very serious vulnerability. And again, from a company's point of view, you may not want it. You may not want it. You may just like, I'll bite the bullet, I'll develop something on. It's like, it's very expensive. Yeah, but people do that. We don't only have two architectures like x86 and ARM. There is also power architectures. And there are other architectures also that are used in weapons industry and for some classified. And yes, weapons are lower classified than higher classified. And I have no idea what the hell happens in higher classified. But there are a lot of things. And financial sector also has some kind of architectures that are like rarely used outside of that. So you always want variety. That's a good thing. You want that. And again, that also keeps the price of this puppy reasonable. If everybody uses this, like, it's a very short-term profit, long-term destruction. So it's a great thing. I'm very happy that Intel is doing it. And it's like somebody, if it was planned very on, like, Mark 1 will be Mark 1. We're just going to deal with it. And then Mark 2 will be the, like, shot out of the park. That would be amazing. Now, could AMD reduce the price? No. I do not think they have the brains, because again, 5 years they have downward trends and they're still not waking up. Chances are low. Nvidia, it's in not their best interest to reduce prices. So let's see what happens. But again, this is a great momentum in good direction. So this was my presentation on basically why everybody is talking about Intel's GPU. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst a friend. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.